Welcome back to Library YouTube channel. In today's class, we're going to learn how to make this beautiful shirt, oversized shirt with lapel. You can see the lapel that we have there. It's a button-down shirt. I'm going to take you through how to cut and sew this in this class. If this is something you like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. So you're going to start by measuring the length of your shirt. Mine is 27 inches with 1 inch seam allowance. So we are cutting the back first. So once you have it, that becomes your shoulder line. So on the shoulder, you're going to mark your shoulder divided by 2. Mine is 16 divided by 2, 8. So I added half inch. So I marked 8.5 inches. And on that point, I came down 1 inch for my shoulder slope. I also marked 3 inches for my neck width and 1 inch for my back neck depth. So you're going to take your ruler and then connect for your neckline. So after that, you're going to mark your armhole line, which is that. Then I'm going to go ahead now and mark my bust divided by 4. So you are going to mark your round bust divided by 4 there, and then you're going to add extra 3 inches, 2 inches for ease and 1 inch for seam allowance. It's a big top, so I want it to be really free. So you're going to draw your armhole. Then after that, whatever it is you have there, you're going to measure it on your hemline as well. So once you measure that width, you are going to connect together. If you want yours to be a little bit fitted, shaped, not fitted, shaped on the waist, you're going to mark your half length, and then on that point you can come in by 1 inch or 1.5 inches, and then you reshape your side like that. So with this, we are done with the back. I'm going to add allowance for the shoulder. I added half an inch, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut out my back. So we are going to be using the back to cut the front. So for the front, I'm going to bring my fabric again, and then I'm going to measure allowance for my button. Remember, the front is going to have button and lapel, so you need to measure that out. So I'm just measuring 2 inches. I don't need up to that, but I don't want to have shortage. So once you measure your allowance, you rule it like that, and then you bring your back. So because the back and front is going to be the same on this side, we are going to be using the back to shape it. So just cut out exactly what you have on your back on the front as well. I'm cutting this side. I'm going to cut the armhole. You can reshape your front armhole when you are done, and then I'm cutting the same neckline for the front as well. So once you are done cutting, you take out the back, and now you can work on the front. So for the front, I'm using a neck depth of 3. Remember, I've already done 1 for the back, so I just measured 2 to make 3, and then I connected it like that. So you take your ruler and connect your neckline into your allowance. So now for the button placket, you need to decide how wide you want it to be depending on the size of your button. But 1 inch or 1.25 is okay. So I'm measuring that, and then I'm going to connect it up to my neck width. So once you connect it to your neckline, the next thing is for you to determine your breaking point. Remember, we have a lapel. So for my breaking point, I am going to be working with 10 inches. So I'm going to mark that. That's where your lapel is going to stop folding, and then you're going to connect it to your neckline so that you can see what it will look like. So that is all you need to do for the front as well. Then you're going to grab your scissors and cut that out. So I'm adding a little bit of turning allowance there because I'm cutting directly on my fabric. Then you're going to cut your front neckline. So once you are done with all of that, the next thing you need to do is to notch the center front, because that is where your sleeve is going to stop. So now the next thing now is to cut facing for our lapel. Remember that once you open the lapel, the wrong side is going to be showing, so you need facing to cover that place up. I'm using the same fabric for mine, but if you want to see maybe another print or another color when you open your lapel, then you can use that for your own. So facing is just like a small lining. So I'm using a little piece of my fabric, and then I'm just going to cut out what I have on my pattern. So you're going to cut the shoulder, you're going to cut the neckline as well, and then you're going to cut down to your center front. So once I cut that, I'll cut the hem as well. So I'm going to check to see what it looks like. I'll place the facing on my pattern, and then I see that it is big. I don't want my facing to be too big, so I'm going to reduce it. So I'll just reduce it. As you can see, I'm reducing my facing, and then for the measurement, I used about 5 inches for the width of my facing. That is what I used, and then I'm going to connect it, and then I will cut out the facing. So we're going to be cutting another one for the other side of the front. So for that, I'm going to bring the fabric again, and then I'm going to place it, but you have to be careful so that I don't cut the same side, so you mark the wrong side, especially for fabrics that you cannot know their wrong and right side easily. So once you mark it, it's going to guide you on how to place your fabric, and then, or you just cut the two of them together if you have enough fabric, so that you don't make that type of mistake. So this is me cutting the second facing for my shirt. So once you cut out your facing, the next thing is to turn your shirt with the facing. So you're going to place them together, and then you're going to pin. I'm going to pin and sew. So when you want to sew, you not sew around the neckline. You stop sewing where you mark that your button allowance, that's your center front, that place where we notched. That's where you stop sewing, because that is where you add your collar. That's where you start adding your collar. So you will not sew all the way around. Can you see that place I'm notching? That's the center front before you start adding your lapel. So I've gone ahead to sew it, as you can see, and then I'm going to place a notch where I started sewing, that center front, so that it can open up well. Can you see the notch? So I'm placing a notch there so that I can turn it out well. So if you have any bulky parts, I have weaved the facing as well. Can you see? So that it can be neat. So you're going to weave your facing, and then you turn it out. So now you're going to go ahead and iron it. You can iron hemming gum on it so that the facing can lay flat very well. So I'm going to go ahead and iron this now, and then you see what we'll have. So I have ironed it for both of them. Can you see? This is what the lapel is going to look like by the time I'm done. So the next thing is to bring the back so that I can join it on the shoulder. So you can just place them together and join, or you can use your facing to turn the shoulder a little bit. Whichever one you want to work with is fine. So I have gone ahead to join mine now, and this is what I have. Can you see? I also weaved it after joining so that it can be neat. So this is what it looks like now. The front and back is joined. So the next is to cut out our collar. So for the collar, you measure around your neckline. So you start measuring from that your center front where you place the notch. So remember that we have already turned out the parts where we have the collar, where we have the button allowance. So you just measure from your center front. Whatever you have there is what you're going to use for your collar. So for the collar, I folded my fabric into two. I measured 8.5, and that is what I'm marking there. So I'll mark the width of the collar to be 8.5 inches, and then I'm going to connect it together. So I'm taking out the selvage because I don't need it. Then the next is to mark the height of your collar. So it depends on how high you want your collar to be. For me, I use 3 inches, so I'm going to connect that as well. So on the upper part of the collar, I want to shape it out by 1 inch. So I marked 1 inch, and then I connected it diagonally back to the 8.5 inches. Also on the lower part, I came up by 1/4 of an inch, and then connected it with my cuff so that the collar can sit well on the neckline. So I need to cut 2 of these because one is going to serve as the collar and the other as the facing. So I'm cutting the 2 of them together. So if you want another color to be showing, just like you did for the facing of the front as well, then you can cut it with another fabric. I'm using the same fabric, that's why I'm cutting it like this. So once you are done, you can place a notch at the center fold, and then you go ahead and place your main collar and facing together. You can add interfacing, you can iron interfacing on it, and then you sew. So I have gone to sew mine now. Can you see? I just sew it round, leaving the parts where I'm going to be sewing to the neck opened so that I can turn it from there. So I have turned it out. I'm bringing out the sharp points with my scissors. You should do this carefully so that you don't rip it, and then you go ahead and iron. So you need to press it very well. So once you iron it, I've ironed it, I have folded one side inside with my iron, and then the side that is not folded is what I'm going to be sewing to my collar. So you're going to match the center back of your close to your collar, and then you're going to connect. Can you see that the collar is not getting to where we have our lapel? It's going to stop at your actual center front before you measure your button allowance. So I am going to connect it. You do the same thing to the other side. Can you see that I did not get to the extreme end as well? You will leave out the lapel part where you have already turned, that 1 inch or 1 1/4, whatever it is you used for yours. So you're going to connect it, and then you're going to sew. So once you sew it out, you just fold the seam allowance in and then cover it up with the part that you have already ironed in. I have sewn it now. Can you see? This is what it looks like. So that part that I folded in is what I'm going to use to cover it up so that it can be neatly finished. So you can see me covering it. I'm also going to pin. I love to work with pins. It makes it easier. So I'm going to fold it over on the two ends completely so that you have it neat both in and out, and then I'm going to pin it down. So you're going to pin the rest of the collar as well, and then you're going to take it to your sewing machine and sew. So once you use this method, your collar area will come out very neat. It's going to be really neat. You will not have any parts being rough when you are done. So that is what I'm doing. I'm making sure that I pin it down, and then I'll go ahead and sew. So when you pin, you can even check it before you sew so that you don't make mistakes. So now I'm done sewing this. As you can see, I'm done sewing it. That is what it looks like on the neckline area. I've sewn it. The next is to cut my sleeve and fix the sleeve. It's just a basic sleeve. I'm going to fix the sleeve and sew this side, and that is all you need to do. So this is what it looks like. I have gone to sew it. You create your button hole, and then you fix your button as well, and this is what you have. Can you see what the neckline looks like? So the collar is going to start from your center front. You're going to turn your lapel with your facing. So that is just the difference from your regular shirt. And then that is the sleeve. So this is what it looks like on the mannequin. You can see how beautiful the lapel is looking and how simple it is to make this. It's very simple to make. I hope you enjoyed making this tutorial with me. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.